Hi, it's, I don't know the date now, it could be the 9th maybe of June 2019, something like that, 8th or 9th. And I've come down to the allotment to see what the damage is. Over the last week we have had some rain, which is good. We've also had some very strong winds. So I thought maybe my cucurbits that I planted during the week might have got ripped to shreds. So I'm a bit worried about them. Although I did tuck them into the ground and put bottles around them to keep the slugs off, and that might have helped to protect them. And I arrive here and I find that, in fact, next door's greenhouse has blown over. He never used it, so it's probably not a great tragedy to him, but it's a bit of a mess on our side. So what I'll do now, I'll take you on a tour. So there's next door's greenhouse. Luckily it was kind of a rubbish patch, so it hasn't damaged anything, but I'd better watch the dog on it. Onion bed, fine. Straw around the peas, hasn't blown away. Net on the brassicas, still fine. Net on the climbing peas, fine, but I think they really need something to climb up at this point. Little beans, sitting in the straw, fine. Squash, looks okay to me. Those bean poles are fine, but this has blown over because I had wrapped the net around it and the wind's taken the net and dragged it right off the top of there, and it's landed way over there in the next allotment. Seed beds, fine. The celeriac that I planted out, doing okay, not drooping. And the carrots that I had carrot seedlings all bunched up. Well, I separated them off and replanted them, and they look okay. So far, so good. What the roots will be like remains to be seen. My neighbour gave me some beetroots, which I've planted under there to keep the birds off, and they are all standing up and doing well. Potatoes beyond them, fine. Peas, still growing, haven't blown away. Beetroot, still good. Broad beans, sheltered by this piece of board, they're fine. Sweet corn, mostly growing. I think these are cauliflowers. The one at the end has kind of sacrificed itself for the other two. I think the bird makes a habit of walking past that one, and the other two are okay. I took the net off because I wanted it somewhere else. These beans that were so yellow, they're looking quite strong and healthy. And the chickpeas are looking good. They formed a nice mat of green. And the mini pop sweet corn, still growing. Bean structure's still standing. Garlic is swelling up. That looks good. It's probably quite lucky that we hadn't finished the fruit cage, because there was no net for the wind to catch on there. And the other fruit cage, likewise. All the poles are still standing. This is blown down. Well, it's kind of lain down, rather. And there's quite a few like that. Cabbage is fine. Other onion bed fine. I put a net on one of the gooseberry bushes. We've got so many, I don't think we're going to net them all, but we'll net a few of them. And that's still there. The beans have blown over somewhat. And what about the things I planted in the compost? This one seems okay so far. I haven't planted this one yet. And this one's okay. I'm afraid I do use slug pellets. It's like belt and braces. I'm trying these bits of bottle with the fringe on the top to stop the slugs and snails crawling in, but the less slugs and snails there are to crawl in, the better. That, I don't know why that's broken off. Is it the wind, or has something chewed it? Over here, the vast potato field all appears to be perfectly fine. Oh, and there's my net I must rescue. And down the end, the tomatoes are hanging in there mostly. Just this one looks very weedy. Some of them are flowering, so they are surviving. And then this bed of brassicas, I had a net on it and I took it off to use somewhere else, and that blackbird has come back. I assume it's the same blackbird. It beats a path down this side and pecks at stuff. By the time it gets to this one, it is probably full. Oh, those are pecked as well, but I think they've managed to get big enough to not be killed by it. Those beans are doing okay. And these things, these three shrubs down here, are the honeysuckle, the Lonicera cerulea. It has little blue fruits which are supposedly edible, although they're a bit unpleasant to eat. There they are. Quite nice looking, quite healthy. So there we are, not too bad at all. A bit of broken glass to clear up. The neighbour whose greenhouse that is doesn't come here very often, so I suppose we can't wait for him to show up. And he's not growing anything at the moment. He's suffering from health issues. Yeah, I'm quite pleased that the squashes are still doing okay, because I planted them out just before these storms came along, and they are a bit, even though they've been in the back garden for a week or two, toughening up. You never know, do you? They're Styrian pumpkins. They produce seeds that have no hard shell on them, so you can eat the seeds. I have no idea if the flesh is tasty, but I'm giving up on growing squashes because they're so variable in the result, and sometimes they taste quite nice and sometimes they have a nasty aftertaste. So these ones I'm growing just for the interest and the seeds. And yeah, the beans are all hunkering down really. I haven't got any beans growing high yet, so the wind hasn't devastated those. It seems to me it's quite unseasonable to have such heavy winds at the beginning of June. But you can't plan for everything anyway, can you? And I'm quite happy that we had some rain, on the plus side. And everything seems to be growing okay. So, see you later. Bye.